Okay, let me get started with this. Again, our mission is to enhance the quality of life for retirees and baby boomers by providing innovative solutions that ensure financial freedom, right? To promote health and well-being and foster community connections so they can add friends and add connections as they're in retirement. We strive to empower retirees with the tools and knowledge for a fulfilling and secure retirement. So I want to share with you guys, or I want to ask you, some of you here are not yet in retirement, or you're not a baby boomer. But as I go through some of the things here, I want you to make a list of people that you feel should see this information, that this can help them, and at the same time um help you to be able to reach out to more baby boomers by creating a partnership with this community that we're going to be building. So what's your dream scenario look like? Would you like to travel more? He said the number one thing that most boomers want to have is to be able to travel more and see the world more, hopefully stay healthy, and to be able to do those things. What about where are you going to retire? Do you want to, are you going to be retiring at home, senior community, or do you want to retire in your dream location? Or maybe during retirement, you live 1 year or 1 month in Italy, live maybe 2 months in Spain, a month in Japan, maybe fly to the Philippines and in Korea and Dubai. What's your dream scenario as far as where you're gonna live? What about your hobbies? What about maybe some passion projects you're going to be doing, right? Would you have a bigger budget for that? Would you want to be able to explore new things while you're in retirement? Or what about giving back to the community, or providing mentorship and sharing your experiences to be able to help folks in the things that they want to do, they want to plan for? Or what about, focusing on family, just spending more time and quality with loved ones? They say these 5 things are the 5 things that most baby boomers want to have during retirement. This is their dream scenario: to travel, live in a place that they love, that they enjoy waking up to be able to do the things they love, to continue to do meaningful stuff and be able to contribute, and more importantly, spend quality time with their family. And that's just being at home, maybe traveling. At the opposite side of the spectrum, it could look like this, right? Being alone in a facility, and no money, no significance, and none of that. And and I want you to think about parents and grandparents, or aunts and uncles, or maybe cousins, or other relatives, friends, coworkers. Are you willing to show them a way that maybe this can be avoided, and we can help them have just better quality of life when they retire? Um, these are the boomers' biggest concerns. First one's inadequate savings. They're worried about not having enough for savings to support a comfortable lifestyle during retirement, right? Retirement could last easily 20, even more years due to increased life expectancy. There's also these healthcare costs that they're going to be dealing with, or you're going to be dealing with. Healthcare expenses can be a major financial burden for your retirement, including out-of-pocket costs of medical treatments, prescription drugs, and long-term care. And these expenses often increase with age and can be increasingly unpredictable. What about inflation? We've had double-digit inflation just a few years ago when COVID hit. It erodes the purchasing power of your money over time, making it more difficult to maintain your standard of living, especially if you have a fixed income. Essential costs like food and housing and healthcare, it can rise or faster than the general inflation rate. What about longevity? I spoke with someone who just retired, and her parents, like in their 90s, and the siblings of her parents is like 94 and 96, and she just retired at 64. And I said, you could live for 30 years, right? There's also a risk of outliving your savings, and that's a growing concern due to longer life expectancies. And what about investment risk? The need to generate returns from investments can expose your money to market risk. What about tax liabilities, right? On the other side of the spectrum, people who did save money, who have a pension, who have income, and suddenly they're now going to pay a higher tax bill. Understanding and managing taxes in retirement is crucial because there's different sources of retirement income. There's 401k, Social Security, investment earnings, and they're going to be all taxed differently. And there are things that if you do something wrong, you could end up paying severe penalties for taxes. And the seventh one here is the lack of a comprehensive financial plan. I see comprehensive or holistic, as we call it. You need a multi-layered financial plan. You know, baby boomers might find it challenging to manage expenses and income effectively, leading to financial stress and insecurity. So that's why we decided to build this community here. What if we can eliminate all of these challenges? What if we can eliminate all of these problems for you, for your friends, for your parents, for your families? And so there's an opportunity here, unlike any other. We're going to talk about the baby boomer generation. There's 78 million people who were born from 1946 to 1964, right? And just to share you a little story about how the boomers really fueled the economy of America. They created this crazy surge in demand in every industry they touch. At that time, the average family had about 8 kids, and these kids are the baby boomers. And so there's this company, Gerber, who was barely just surviving as a company. They averaged about 40 jars of baby food a year. And when the baby boomers started getting born, they went on to start selling 3 million baby food a month. And now Gerber is actually a life insurance company after being a baby food company because they followed the baby boomer trend. As these babies start growing up, what did they start needing? They started needing what? Toys. They started needing toys. And so companies like Tyco and Mattel and Lego, this is when, you know, they started originating around the 50s and 60s when there was a surge of baby boomers turning to toddlers and turning to little kids. And because the demand for the family increased, right? There's a huge movement to be able to create fast food. Not only that, women started populating the workforce, and so Ray Kroc invented what we call a fast food system and a franchise system through McDonald's, and then later on companies like Burger King, Wendy's, and all these other fast food places came out. Now, as these baby boomers started growing up, when they grew up, they didn't want to have their parents' cars. They didn't want a station wagon. They wanted to drive cool cars. They wanted to drive cool cars, and that's why when you look at the 60s, you got all these Mustangs and Camaros and Corvettes, and these muscle cars just started popping out all over the place. And this was the biggest surge in terms of the car revolution, right? The muscle cars of the 60s and 70s, now they become classic collections. Not only that, when the boomers grew a little bit older, this guy from Mustang, you know, Lee Iacocca, was recruited by Chrysler. Chrysler was in the brink of bankruptcy, and Lee Iacocca came in and he invented the minivan. And the minivan started serving baby boomers who started building families of their own. Actually, before that, They started going through schools, right? They said they said kids were crazy back in the 70s. They weren't crazy. There's just a million kids inside schools. And then later on, because they started having families, cities started getting incorporated. There's just this, you'll go into like cities like Covina, Diamond Bar, there in California. There's like a bunch of tract homes that all look like each other because there's like so many houses getting built during this time in the 80s. And this was one of the biggest real estate surge that happened in our country. Around the 90s, the baby boomers actually needed ease of doing stuff. And it created a demand for information, and then the internet was born. And there was a huge in technology where people started using computers and cell phones and all those stuff. It was crazy back then of how companies like Yahoo and Amazon, and they just started coming out, and there was this huge demand for technology and computers. But in 2011, the first baby boomer turned 65 years old. The first one turned 65 years old. And from 2011 until 2030, all these boomers are gonna retire. Some of them are in retirement right now, halfway through retirement, and some of them are just kind of like at the tail end. The critical mass of these boomers who are going through retirement is going to happen between 2024 and 2029, as these boomers need to be able to make sure that they have enough money to sustain their retirement, to make sure that they don't run out of money. But then starting this year until 2045, there's going to be another big boom, and it's called the Great Wealth Transfer. And so if you go on Google and type in the Great Wealth Transfer, it's going to show you that the Great Wealth Transfer is poised to begin this year with the baby boomers who own about half the country's wealth. It's passing on 84 trillion from this year all the way to 2045. Experts project that younger generations, just such as Gen X and millennials, will inherit about $72 trillion of that, while charities are going to receive the rest. This was published in May 16, 2024. $84 trillion. That's what that looks like. 4 commas, 16 zeros. It's 84 million. 84 million, 1 million. So if there's 78 to 80 million baby boomers, on average, they got about 1 million in assets. Now, there's an unfair distribution of them because the top 20 probably owns 80% of this 84 trillion. Where are these assets? Where's this money? They are in retirement accounts, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, Roth IRAs. They're inside pension plans. They're inside banks, bank accounts. They're in cash, CDs. They're inside life insurance companies. They're inside annuities. Their life insurance is cash. Life insurance is permanent. Life insurance is death benefits. They're in stocks. They're in Wall Street. They're in ETFs. They're in mutual fund companies. I'm not even including the assets that are the primary residence, right? We're not even counting that, right? Bonds, mutual funds, and all of that. They're inside about 84 trillion. 84 trillion. If the boomers make a mistake on what they're going to do with this, half of this is going to go to probate, IRS, and they're just going to get lost inside accounts. And these mutual fund companies, and they're going to be keeping them, and these companies that they work for, they're going to be keeping them. Because why? There is no succession plans, uncompleted paperwork, no beneficiaries on this account. Most retirees rely on what we call the 3-legged stool of retirement. Wally, Wilma, this three-legged stool cannot be transferred. Social Security, if you're married and your spouse passes away, you're not gonna get their Social Security. Even if they worked for 40 years and put in 7% of their income into Social Security, there is no death benefit for Social Security. You only get one. So if your spouse passes away, you get the bigger one. Get the bigger one. If you pass away, if all your children are adults, no one gets what's left over. It's kept inside the Social Security. 401ks and 403bs and IRAs. By the time you turn 72 and a half, there's something called required minimum distribution, which means the IRS is now going to require you to withdraw your money. There is no choice. If you don't withdraw it, they penalize you 50%. So they're going to tell you, you got to withdraw 30,000 now, or else we're going to take 15,000 from your money, right? You can't leave it there. You can't let your children inherit it. You have to withdraw it, pay the taxes, use it. And by the time you're 90, you would have fully depleted it if you understand the schedule of RMDs, right? And the last one is a group pension, not a personal pension. We do personal pensions, and those are designed to have beneficiaries for your children. A group pension, normally you can have it just on your life. So if you die, it won't continue to anyone else. You can have a spousal beneficiary. If it pays out to your life, you pass away, they'll pay out to your spouse, but there's no beneficiary to the children, right? Only you or your spouse. And so because the three-legged stool is where most people have their retirement, Social Security, retirement accounts, or qualified plans and pension plans, most people don't even have some of these, right? And they're going to be relying on Social Security. So they're not going to be participating in this great wealth transfer unless they make a decision to do what we're going to show them. So people need what you call a GPS, right? A growth protection strategy. A lot of people put their money inside mutual funds, ETFs, 401ks, so their money can keep on growing. And then there's people who put their money on CDs in the money market because they want to make sure it's safe, right? The problem with the growth is you can lose money because it's tied to the market. The problem with CDs and fixed and safe, well, your inflation is eroding your money. The buying power is not there. And then people also have money for emergencies, for healthcare. There's long-term care insurance. And if there's a death in the family, there's also life insurance. But you have to have 3 different products to have all of these, right? Well, what if there was just one that you will have growth just like a mutual fund, and you'll have a guarantee like a CD and money market. And if you needed long-term care, there's more money. But also if you pass away, there's more money. If maybe your parent or your spouse pass away, there's more money, not just the balance in the account. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? Right? Now, that little something is offered by at least 20 companies. And these are the top 20 companies. We work with about 15 of them. So these are companies that are both insurance companies and mutual fund companies. That's why they're able to do this, right? To have the growth and the protection and the insurance. If you remember, in 2000 and 2008, the market had crashed by 49% in 2001 and then 56% in 2008. If you had $1 million, or if you have a $2 million portfolio, you guys probably didn't have it back in 2000, but if you had it back then, you would have lost $1 million in 2000. And so your 2 million now is 1 million. Now, if you only gained 50%, it'll only be 1.5 million, but it did gain and go back to 1,500 points, and then it crashed again, right? See, when you lose 50% out of your money, you need to grow 100% to get it back. And so from 2000 to 2013, your money would not have moved a single penny. Maybe it's a little bit lower if you're paying fees on the asset manager, right? It took 13 years from 2000 to 2013 for the S&P 500 to just break even. It happened before, it's going to happen again. That's why we talk about guaranteed income. Time Magazine and Wall Street Journal, if you know of those magazines, right? They said, they both featured an article that said retirees with a guaranteed income are not only happier, but they live longer because there's less stress. There's less stress. And so I'm going to share a story about a friend of ours, kind of like a story that's very close to me. I still have their photo of our youngest daughter's baptism because they were the earliest ones in the church, where we had it in Glendora, California. This couple, the wife is a nurse. She works with my wife at Kaiser Permanente. Wonderful, wonderful lady. They always just take care of us and invite us over their house, and it was amazing. We helped them put together a plan when she had retired. When she retired, she had a pension and a 401k. We helped them set up a living trust and all of that. So she and her husband, Jerry was a dentist, and the wife, she had a bigger retirement plan because as a dentist, he didn't have a pension. So we helped her. And between the two of them, we helped them with both their retirement. And this was about 6 years ago when this had happened. And this was probably one of my biggest accounts that I was able to set up. What happened to that account was they never touched it because the wife, Jerry's wife, had gotten sick. She had a stroke. Well, it's actually encephalitis, but it's like stroke-like symptoms where she lost her vision, lost her motor skills, couldn't talk. It was really hard because it was hard to process paperwork because we're trying to get her long-term care plan. We were able to get to it, paid her $84,000 a year for 5 years. $84,000. So she never touched her money. And she had about 900,000 in there. And it grew every year because we put it on one of those GPS systems wherein it was growing. Unfortunately, she passed away last year. And her 900,000 was now 1.4 million. Jerry received a letter from the company who had the IRA, and she said, go ahead and sign it because you're the beneficiary. And he called me and I said, no, don't get the death benefit. I told him that's an IRA. You get 1.4 million, the IRS is gonna take away half of it. That's a 700,000 tax bill that you're gonna have to pay. Not to mention, it's gonna increase what you're getting from your retirement. It's gonna increase the taxes of what you're already getting. So I told him we're gonna do a rollover from your late wife's IRA to your IRA, and so we did that. So out of this money that Jerry had gotten from his late wife, it paid him $113,000 a year. It's still paying him that right now. If Jerry gets sick, he's going to receive $226,000 a year for 5 years. And if he never depletes it, then the remainder of the money will go to his children too. And so that's set up too. It's not going to go through probate. We took care of all of that. So now this was one couple. and this was one couple, and I'm gonna share you something because this is a report of of how I got paid back in 2018 when I helped both of them. It was 13,000 in December 13 and 33,000 in December 17. 4 days, 46,000. That was a very good Christmas. But then when the event happened last year and I had moved Jerry's money, or her money to Jerry's account, um, and this is when I got paid $54,700. This is 101,000 out of that account. It's the same money. It just moved from the 401k into the IRA, and from the IRA to the spousal IRA. There are millions of these that are happening right now. There are millions of these happening right now. This was my cousin, my late cousin Joel. He became part of my business, and when he did his first baby boomer client, he made about 8,700. Along the time he came in, this is Elena Tionco. Some of you guys don't know who she is. You'll find out a little bit. She also helped a bunch of people in Kaiser, and this is her first check too, of 8,400. Because back then, my only focus was teaching people how to do rollovers. Elena said, I have this daughter. She lives in Texas. She's amazing. She's a businesswoman. And I know she'll do really great at this. This daughter is Coco. And Coco just did her first rollover early part of this year and made about 5,600. You can see where Coco's beauty comes from. Very beautiful mom at Elena. And then around this time, this is when Jason and Kat came in too. You guys have seen the reports, you know. Jason and Kat are one of our rollover experts too. If you saw that last February, they got a check for 17,000, and just this last week they got a check for 5,700. I only show the rollovers within the. Of course, they still make money on the insurance contracts and all that stuff. This is my friend who retired from Boeing. He had his first client, and he made 26,000 with his first client. He's actually one of my partners in one of the real estate properties we have, and he's the president of the largest fraternity in the Philippines. So he got a little busy, but he told me he's gonna get back going this year. So we'll see. And through the wave, it was wave after wave. This is one of our great leaders, Leah Villaroman, right? She helped her mom with her rollover. And her rollover, Leah made about 11,300. Conan's first rollover, Mac and Banshee, in their first rollover, they made about 8,500, right? Now, I just share a sample size of people, either they're about to retire, or they're in retirement, or they're not yet even retirement. But they got involved with us, and they're helping people, not just preparing for retirement if they're younger, but also helping baby boomers to make sure that their wealth is protected and properly done. And so there's 4 options for all of you who are here. I told you guys we got a 30-minute presentation. There's 4 options for you. First option is join the team. Make your retirement more fun and meaningful, right? Do you want to be able to travel more? Well, it's like an extra $25,000. That's going to help you travel more, right? Just have more fun. The way we do it is you provide the trust, we do the work and the paperwork, right? So it's more of like a partnership. Maybe you guys got parents or aunts and uncles or friends, or your best friend's parents are close to you. Let's have a conversation with them, and maybe there's something we can do to help. We got a bunch of people right now who are in their late 60s and 70s. who's getting involved with us. Second one, you can schedule a free financial analysis and discover the improvements you can make with your accounts, right? You don't, no pressure. You're just gonna try to see what you have, and if you wanna explore different options, or at least look at some other options that are available, then yeah, we can do that. Third option, we can do both 1 and 2. I think that's gonna be a lot more fun. We're really working on building this Saturday morning community target for catering to baby boomers, and you're probably gonna partner up with some of our partners here. They'll facilitate the bulk of the work, the paperwork, and then you just point. Point. There, my sister is about to retire. There, my cousin is in retirement. There, like you point. And then you transfer the trust, and then we'll go help them. We'll go help them. This only moves at the speed of trust. So it doesn't really work if you're not involved. Now, it's possible we'll run into them, but it's gonna make it a lot more how I say beneficial for you and them, if you can help them with the due diligence and you do the research, and so you can help them better. And last but not least, if you're all good and maybe you're set, or you've sat down with us before, I would like for you to refer us to a friend or a family member next Saturday. Same time, same Zoom. That being said, that is the end of my presentation. Annette, Wally, Wilma, Jeannie, Michelle, Sandra, Leah, Cara, John, Mac. I hope this was helpful.
Yeah.
Again, this is gonna be my contribution to be able to help you create a baby boomer targeted for your business. Now, when we sit down with them, there's a bunch of other stuff that we'll be doing. There's gonna be long-term care. There's gonna be living trust, et cetera, et cetera. But the bulk of it is really to be able to capture this $84 trillion, exchanging of hands. And again, just like I said, the whole 80-20 rule, there's only the 20% who probably has, the top 20% owns about 80% of this. So in terms of business, you want to be able to learn who those are. Yes, maybe they have advisors, maybe they have someone, but just like with medical conditions, you always want a second opinion, don't you? So let's give them a second opinion. And if our second opinion is better than their first opinion, then there you go. That is my presentation. I'm just gonna